Welcome back to Sweet Science Boxing and MMA here in Hawthorne, California. I'm Chris, your boxing enthusiast, and with me is veteran guest Anthony Stack Saldana. What's going on?
Not a whole lot. Back once again, man.
I know.
Got some special guests in the studio today.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, man.
Why don't you introduce them then?
So, in the studio with us today, we have the WBA. Is it Super Bantam? Or is it Bantam? It's Bantam. Super Bantam. Super Bantam.
Come on, man. Come on. Do we have to start over all of a sudden?
118, 122.
We just started.
No, man. It's the super. No. And when I'm talking about super, it's not the Super Bantam weight. It's the Super World Champion. With the WBA, you know, the organizations and the titles.
I'm doing the introductions from now on. I'm doing
Super Bantamweight World Champion.
I'm doing the intros from now on.
Daniel, the babyface assassin, Roman, and his trainer, Eddie Gonzalez. Welcome to the show, guys.
We'll save that one for the blooper reel.
Thank you for having us here, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys taking the time. There was a ton of boxing this weekend.
Right?
Yeah, we'll make sure to get through all the fights. You went to a couple of the fights.
Yeah, I was out at Superfly yesterday. So
okay.
Superfly 3.
Superfly 3.
Superfly 3.
Right on. Yeah, and I know that you said you watched a couple as well. You watched the Superfly undercard, but also the Showtime.
I did.
Okay. And Danny, you don't watch boxing.
No, I don't.
Why not?
It doesn't catch my attention because I'm always in the gym. I'm always seeing it. So, whenever I get time free, I want to get my mind off it. So.
Were you ever a fan of boxing, like before you started training and stuff like that, or is it?
No.
Really?
I got in like that.
How old did you start training at?
I started boxing when I was 7, 8 years old.
7, 8 years old?
Yeah.
So if you weren't a fan at the time, what was like the key motivating reason for you getting into boxing?
Well, I started. I got beat up in school.
Oh, really?
We were playing soccer. I never gave the ball back, and I got beat up. Came home crying, and my dad told me, you know what, it's time for you to defend yourself. So he sent me with my uncle. My cousin was boxing back then, and my brother. So that's how it all started.
That's how it all started. Wow, that's a terrific story.
It is.
It
seems like
they need to do like a featurette on that next time when you're on DAZN. Congratulations, by the way, on the contract.
Thank you.
Contract with DAZN. It's a co-promotional contract, so you're still promoted by Thompson, right?
Yes.
But also promoted by Matchroom, co-promoted with Matchroom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, congratulations on that.
Thank
Anyways, DAZN needs to do the featurette on your backstory. That'll get some views. How long have you guys been working together?
Well, I know Dennis was 8 years old.
Okay.
I worked with him in the amateurs for a few years, and then we separated. When he turned pro, he came looking for me and asked me if I could help him out. And it was a pleasure working with him when he was a kid, and I knew it would be a pleasure working with him as a professional. So I turned him pro, and we've been together ever since again.
Yeah.
Approximately 8 to 9 years now.
9 years?
Yes.
Wow. You look as though you have a tremendous work ethic.
I do.
Yeah,
I'm very competitive. I work with him a lot.
You look like you could get in the ring with Danny right now.
I can beat him up.
Don't do it. So you guys have been working together for a long time. So you had how extensive was your amateur career?
It was 70 fights.
Okay, yeah.
Just 10 losses out of the 70.
Oh, right. Yeah. And then you turned pro. What age did you turn pro initially?
I turned pro when I was 20.
When you were 20?
8 years now. I'm 28.
Wow, you've been pro for 8 years.
Yes.
World champion. Yeah. How much do you remember about your first world championship fight? Where you the WBA world championship fight? Can you replay it in your mind like end to end, or is it just in the past now and you focus on other fights?
No. That's always gonna be in my mind. Winning the world title. I just beat Adam Lopez for the title eliminator, and that got me the opportunity to fight the champion, which at that time it was Cermeño.
Okay.
And so I guess they agreed to fight Shawn Kubo. So Shawn Kubo won that fight, and so they gave me the chance.
Yeah.
So it was.
And you guys jumped at it.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
So you've had a few title defenses then. So this will be your third coming up.
Yes, I'll be my third defense on October the 6th, Chicago.
In Chicago against Gavin McDonnell.
Yes.
Okay. And it sounds like you guys have been doing your homework and everything. You guys are in camp, getting ready to go.
Yes, we've been in camp for at least 4 weeks already. It's going to
Okay.
be an 8-week camp. We're ready for Gavin McDonnell. We study him already. We know his weaknesses. We also know his pros. And I'm sure that both of these kids, Danny and Gavin, are going to give the fans a great fight.
So if you don't watch boxing, do you study tape together, or do you mostly take care of studying like the videos and stuff like that?
I'm the one who studies the fights. I
Okay.
look for the weaknesses, and I also look for his, like I said, for his pros. Then I go ahead and I pass it on to Danny. Once we're getting closer to the fight, I send the videos to Danny, and I have him analyze them as well. And then we sit down, we talk, and we recreate the strategy for the fight.
Okay, and that's what you guys focus on in training, is that strategy?
That is correct.
Yeah, that sounds good. And so in terms of what's going on, Rudolfo? What's going on? Or Randolfo, sorry. It's Boxeo. But sorry, someone just jumped in and was saying what's up. But yeah, so that's really interesting. So something I'm curious about is the avenues or opportunities that you have as a world champion versus before you get that title belt. There's kind of a perception for fans, which is that, you kind of become the shot caller, so to speak, once you get the belt, or that there are more opportunities for you. Is it easier to make fights now as a champion with you guys, or do you feel like it's just as difficult to get people in the ring to fight with you?
I would say it's much easier.
It's much easier? Everybody wants a shot at it?
Yeah, you're the target now, so everybody wants you. So
Yeah. But at the same time, people, I suppose, are much more critical of the opponents that you face and things like that as well, right? Once you become a world champion.
Well, let me tell you something. Danny has fought nothing but tough opposition from the beginning. And not once has he ever denied a fight. The first opponent that they have presented to him at that moment, he has taken the fight.
Yeah.
Danny's a real fighter. Danny's not here to select lesser opponents than him. That's the reason why he's in the position that he's in right now. And yes, the fights are much easier, again, because we're very easy to deal with. We won the best fights.
Yeah. So really it has to do with your team and the people you have surrounding you more than being a world champion or not being a world champion.
That's correct.
I've been following Danny's career for a few years through Thompson as he's come up, and like we were talking earlier, and honestly, in my opinion, he was given this opportunity because the same reason that's going on now is that people don't know who Danny Roman is. He was given an opportunity to fight for a title eliminator against Adam Lopez. Why? Because, he's going to be a stepping stone for Lopez, and guess what? Danny went in there and beat his ass, Then he gets a title shot. Take him to Japan, make him fight. He wins the title. Well, make him defend his title in Japan. He goes back, he defends it in Japan. Put him up against a PBC guy that's undefeated. Take him to Texas. Does the same thing. These guys don't know the work ethic of Danny Roman and his team, and it's a strong work ethic that he has. He spars a lot of good sparring guys out here. A lot of good sparring partners that he has out here in the Southern California community, and he's just now getting to that level. And it's easy for these guys to say, Dog Bay's better. Vargas is better. So-and-so's better. But they don't know the workings of this team, and it's this guy's come from the bottom, literally come from the bottom, from Thompson Boxing, even before Thompson Boxing, and has worked his way up, starting with a few losses at the beginning of his career to get to where he's at now. And he, not just because I know him personally, but this is a true story of perseverance, of not being the best, but working his way to become the best, and it's a good guy, man.
Well, let me ask you guys something. Do you feel as though, as a fighter or as a coach, as part of your camp, do you feel as though there are instances where it's being set up where you're being fed to someone else? Like the idea is like, we're going to feed Danny Roman to this other guy that we promote, or we're going to feed because that's kind of what you're saying, right?
Exactly.
So you're being hired as an opponent, so to speak. Is that something that you feel or perceive as you're going through training camp? Do you feel like somebody picked you as an opponent ever?
Yeah. Most of the time it feels like that, and it is. But like we use that to train even more harder.
Yeah,
to
it's motivation, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
To prove everybody wrong, to prove what we could do. They probably take us like this guy ain't nothing. So we use that as motivation to keep on training hard, to prove everybody wrong, and to show the people what we could do.
Yeah. And regarding people not knowing his name, Isaac Dogbay knew your name.
I think that's the only
He's
name
the
that
only
Dog
name he
Bane-
knew.
Yeah.
It was the only name he knew. He wanted to call out the other champions, and he's
what's
like
their names, he
Danny
said?
Roman, and then he turned to the back and said, "What are the other guys' names?" So Isaac Dogbay knew your name.
Look, Doug Bay is a very good fighter. He's a very strong fighter. I'm a fan of his.
Yeah.
When I saw him fighting for the first time, I actually told Danny, there's a kid that's fighting out there by the name of Dog Bay, and he reminds me of Asuma Nelson. I said, you
Okay.
know, and I was a big fan of Asuma Nelson as well. And I said, I really liked him. Danny called out, Ray Vargas called out Dog Bay when he did his second defense. I believe he did the same thing when he beat Flores just this past month of June. Dog Bay called us out. We accept this challenge. You know, but first we have to deal with Gavin McDonnell before we move forward. There's no sense in speaking about that fight or taking our focus away from our training camp to deal with comments that are coming in from another team. We have to take care of things first, and then we'll deal with the other issue.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. You guys can't look past your opponent, right? Because you have this opponent coming up, and you're working through that still. That's
Absolutely,
What this camp's
and
about.
just to answer your question that you did earlier, we do feel that we are setting up. We're always being set up to lose. For some reason, they feel that Danny is probably the easiest champion out there, but it's a big surprise once they get in the ring. There's a lot of people that say, "Well, Danny can't punch." Well, ask his opponents.
Yeah.
Ask his opponents if he can punch or not. Danny is a very devastating has devastating punching power, and he'll prove that against McDowell, and he'll prove it against Delbey as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he gets signed by DAZN, Eddie Hearn Matchroom.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
and is it coincidence that his first opponent is from the UK?
No, I don't
Come on,
think,
man.
I don't think it's a coincidence.
No, exactly. Eddie believes that he's gonna take that title back to the UK, and it's not gonna happen.
In all fairness, their U.S. stable is relatively limited outside of Danny right now. So you're actually one of the first big U.S. fighters that DAZN was able to sign, right? So Eddie Hearn has struggled a little bit to get fighters from the U.S. as part of the Matchroom Boxing stable for DAZN. I think, Danny, you're kind of like the big name, you know, that he was able to get. You were the world champion, right? And I think he struggled to get other world champions or other people on there.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
But they did their first Facebook live stream for free yesterday.
Amir Khan.
Amir Khan, yeah.
Yeah.
Amir Khan, you watched that fight, right?
I did.
Eddie? Yeah.
I did, yes.
Yeah. Did you watch that one?
I seen highlights. I didn't watch the fight. I was
You were at
the forum.
Superfly, huh?
Yeah, having a few beers and
Having a few beers, staying out. I told you about that party lifestyle, man. I told you. You
yeah,
gotta quit
I
that.
decided to go
Go
as
hang
a
out with
fan
this dude for a
yesterday.
little bit. You know what I mean?
Become a vegetarian and work out.
Yeah.
Definitely. Come out with me, man.
I'll become a world champion someday, man.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle. So just a few days a week, 2 days a week with him, you'll be good. I can tell you.
No, yeah, I caught the highlights. I guess both of them knocked each other down in the second round, and
Yeah, I would say that in the second round, initially, early on, it looked as though there was some pressure being applied, and Amir Khan responded to that pressure with sort of a burst of punches that knocked his opponent down. There's a clear differentiation in hand speed. It was more trying to man up to show, like, hey, you can't bully me, you can't get in tight. So he throws this burst of punches, knocks his opponent down, having a very good round, a round where it looked as though he could even potentially stop his opponent, and then he caught a right hand at the end of the round and went down, which was, I mean, it was just a right hand, just, you know, I don't know what else to say.
And
So
down he went.
Yeah, I guess it didn't help his reputation.
Well, I'll tell you what, you know, people talk about his chin not being strong enough.
That's true.
But you have to admit, and you have to give him credit, he's always looking for tough opposition. He's never
He
running away.
Always wants the best.
He
Yeah.
always wants the
Yeah.
best. So you got to give him credit for that, you know?
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, for how long has he been calling out Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, the other tops of the division?
And to know,
Even still now.
he's got to know he has a weak chin. He knows that. You know your own body, right? So
Correct.
to
Yeah.
know he has that type of chin, and then to jump in the ring against Canelo, come on, man. He knew what was going to happen. He got a good payday, and he got his lights turned out.
You think he knew it was going to happen? You don't think he felt like he could beat Canelo? Even to this day, he'll tell you he was winning that fight right
Oh.
up to the point where he got knocked out.
I think he might have been winning the fight, but
Yeah.
yeah, no. Yeah. That's yeah.
This This is the, you're also the guy that says Lomachenko has 0 chance at beating Mikey Garcia, though. You know what I mean?
Did not say 0 chance, man.
He told me 0 chance.
Here we go.
Did he say 0 chance?
No.
He said 0. You said 0 chance.
No, I did not say 0.
Danny,
chance.
everybody has a chance, right?
Yeah, everybody does.
Exactly. Don't you have to operate that way?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can't look past.
You
it.
can take the worst opponent into the ring, and it only takes one punch.
Yeah,
One
absolutely.
punch. That's all that it takes.
Yeah.
See, Loma's not invincible. That's what I'm talking about.
Of course, it's not.
Mikey can hit him and he can go down and that could be it.
He's
You
been
know?
down once before, right?
But you don't believe
Yeah.
that. He's been
Yeah.
down a couple times, right?
Yeah, and as an amateur, he's been down
Yeah.
many times. That's
And he
why.
lost to Salido.
And he lost to Salido in his
Right.
second professional.
That's another
fight.
story.
Hey, look it.
Salido was only, 7 pounds overweight and only hit him in the nuts 20 times. I
That's
mean, but
okay.
hey.
It's good to you
Hey.
experienced a little adversity early in your career. There was an early draw, right, an early sort of
Yep.
loss. How did you recover from that? Because obviously you've had tremendous success since then, going and becoming world champion, which you are now. Does that still sit with you? Do you remember the loss? Do you remember some of the things that you did to sort of reset your mind or reframe your perspective there?
Yeah, I remember losing my first fight against a Japanese fighter,
Okay.
Takashi Okada.
Yeah.
Tough guy. I believe it was a close fight. It could have gone either way, so I knew. So I went back. I thought I wasn't blaming nobody, because it was a close fight, and I knew I made some mistakes. I knew I shouldn't stay there or fight him. Just Mexican brawl, I believe if I would have boxed him a little bit more, it would have been much clearer that I won. So that was one of my mistakes that I knew how to fix.
Okay.
So we went back. I got cut in that fight. It got infected, so I was out for almost a year, honey.
Almost a year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So all that time that I was off, I went back to work. My promoter dropped me, Thompson, after that loss. So I had to get my life together. I had to think what I wanted to do, and I wanted to box, But there had to be a change in me, because I still couldn't keep on fighting the way that I was, or keep on making the same mistakes. So I went back to work, kept on boxing after everything got fixed, and I fought my second loss against Juan Reyes. It was a close fight too.
Yeah.
So you know what? I was like, I can't lose again.
Yeah. But you kept them competitive, though. So there's
Yeah.
sort of a distinction there, right? Even in the losses, it's a competitive loss. It's different than sort of rebounding, I guess, from a severe knockout or something like that.
But for me, a loss is a loss,
I can
And
see that, yeah.
You can't explain it to everybody. It was a close fight. No, I lost. I
Yeah.
lost. But there's something, I got to win clear. I can't just let the fight go close fight, leave it to the judges. So I use that, as a wake-up call now, Second loss, that's the last one.
I think that's kind of a conversation that comes up every now and again on the show, which is that are there really moral victories sort of in boxing? You know what I mean? The whole Rocky Balboa, I went the distance type, I went the distance type thing. Everybody, I think, is really trying to win.
You know something? You're absolutely true. Those fights, they were not losses to us. They were learning experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? I sat down with Danny. I told him, look, if we learn something from this loss, from both of those losses, then we're going to be okay. Because I'm the type of individual that I never lie to them. I always tell them the truth. And I told them, if I can't help you if I'm not real with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? So we sat down. We knew that we had to work on defense, and that was our priority from that point on. And we came up with the best possible way to make sure that Danny was not being hit and make the opponents pay for the mistakes. And that's what we've done from that point on.
Yeah.
In the last 2 years, Eddie, from I'll say the Lopez fight, the Adam Lopez fight. What switch is turned on with the team? I mean, because this is a completely different Danny from the first, say, 4 or 5 fights that I seen him fight at Thompson events, to that Adam Lopez fight in Atlantic City. It just seems like we've seen a different, people that have watched Daniel and know Danny have seen a different Danny, and it just seems like his skill level has just jumped tremendously in the last 2 years.
Well, we knew what was at stake. The opportunity presented itself that we got the title eliminated with him. And I told Danny, look, we really have to strategize. We really have to work. We have to get stronger. We have to be mentally ready, and we have to come up with the best strategy possible for this kid. So I sat down, I looked at the videos, I saw the mistakes. And for this particular fight, what we did, we slipped the jab to the inside, working the uppercut, which is what paid dividends to us in that fight. I told Danny we have to execute a perfect fight, and he did. And from that point on, it's been the same attitude. Although we had that same attitude in the past, but now there's a lot at stake. And this was the opportunity for us to move on to the world title opportunity. And like I said earlier to you guys off record here, that we prepare to dominate our opponents. And we're not going to allow anybody to take what Danny has earned so hardly, you know?
So for you, Danny, and piggybacking off this question, your frame of mind, is it at a different level when you were fighting at Thompson against opponents that you knew you should have beat compared to opponents at a higher level where you're going out there and you're having an opportunity? Is there a different mind frame for you going into those fights?
Well, when we were at Thompson, the thing is that we knew if we lost, we could have you know what? Let me explain it. It was much of a, I couldn't risk it all.
Yeah.
At Thompson's show, like I am now. Now, you know, like Eddie says, a higher stake.
So if it was a loss at Thompson, you learn and you go. But now, if you lose, that's it. It's basically.
Well, no, I had the same mentality I had in Thompson.
Okay.
But like I wasn't risking as much, like how I am now.
Okay.
Let me explain to you what he's trying to say. Danny and I, we talked. We sat down and said, look, Danny, if we have another loss, we're just going to become an opponent. Okay?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to give us the opportunity anymore. So basically, I told him what we're going to do from this point on. We're going to outbox everybody. We're going to dominate from this point on. We're not going to go for knockouts. Okay? We're going to go out there, make the opponents make you miss, and you make them pay. And that's what we've done. That was the strategy from that point on, because we could not afford to lose again. You guys know the business. You guys been around.
Yeah.
And you guys know, 3 losses, you're basically out. And we could not afford to do that anymore.
Do you feel like it was always that way? I feel like that's something that's really occurred within my lifetime. I don't feel like a loss used to mean as much as it does today, where people really covet sort of that zero and
look,
go for it.
I come from a different era of boxing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in my mid 50s, so I go back to part of the late 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and 90s. And 70s and the 80s, you could have 4, 5, 6 losses.
Yeah,
and it was no big deal.
That's what I thought.
You could still become a great world champion. Now these days, everybody's looking for that O.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, it's like you can't make a fight.
Actually, us losing.
You're undefeated. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, us losing that O was a blessing in the sky, because it made us a lot better. It made us focus. It made us more perfectionists when it came to the trade.
Yeah, I can see how it definitely would be a benefit as well, in the sense that you're past it at this point, right? You gain the world title, so you have the experience. So there's something that you were able to learn from it before this point, so there are benefits to it. But I do feel like in my lifetime that's changed. Like it didn't used to matter so much to have 1 or 2 losses on your record. Now it's like,
I think they take the prize fighting, the name of that to a different level nowadays. When they talk about the prize, they want a low risk, high reward fight. We're back in, like he says, in the 70s, the 80s, even in the late 60s, these fighters fought the best, and they went out there, whether it was, there wasn't the promotional company stepping in. There wasn't beefs between people. There wasn't social media, people about this person on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. You know what? They went out there and they fought. You had wars at the Olympic Auditorium. You had wars, in local clubs, where it was somebody from Long Beach maybe against somebody from East LA. I had Bobby Chacon, going up against Mondo Ramos from Long Beach, and it was wars, and these guys, they knew each other. They wanted to get in there and they wanted to prove that they were the best, and they weren't ducking anybody, and that's basically that's a lot of the mentality I see with Danny here. He takes the fights. He takes it, and we have a couple questions here on you know, if he would fight Dogbo or if he would go up against Ray Vargas, and, you know, like, you know, Coach Eddie said earlier, Danny right now can't look past McDonnell. He can't look past Gavin. He takes that fight, he'll take on all comers.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
that's what I'm here for. You know, I'm here to fight the best, and the best at this time is Ray Vargas, the champions, Isaac Dugboy, and the new one, IBF champion.
Oh yeah, the
I
kid
don't know-
from
I don't know his name
TJ Doheny from Australia. Yeah, but talk about, out of those three champions, who do you think the best opposition is? Without, you know, of course, without overlooking McDonald. Out of those other three champions, who do you think the best opposition out there right now is?
He doesn't watch boxing, man. No, I'm just kidding. It's all hearsay. I'm sorry, Danny. Go ahead.
Oh well, any of the three, you know, they show their strong side, you know.
Yeah.
So any of the three, you know, why not?
Yeah.
No fear, right?
The fight
No.
where
No
you,
fear.
The fight where you said Dogbo reminded you of Zuma Nelson was probably that Cesar Warriors fight, right? When Warriors flew over to Africa to fight him.
That is correct.
Yeah, that was a hell of a war. It was outside, but it sounded like they were like in an aluminum box, and the whole crowd was cheering. I was watching it on a stream, and it almost sounded like high school bleachers that they were just pouncing on, and they had these huge African instruments just going the whole fight. And he had dropped Warriors a couple times, and Warriors tried to fight back, but he never could get to Dogbe. And at that moment I knew, because a lot of times with these African fighters, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if you're just going to get somebody that's been fighting in Africa for 50 fights and just doesn't have any skill, or if you're going to get somebody on the Azuma Nelson level. And, you know,
I don't know that
this
that's an
kid-
African specific distinction, though. Like, I feel like a lot of people fight, and even people, for instance, from Los Angeles. Let's say you have a record and you're 15-0, 16-0. That 15 may be all losing opponents that you never, right? So it's just a way to.
And the reason I say it's an African, it's not anything racial, but the thing is when you go back, and you can try to do it afterwards, because I know you're working your computer right now. You go to YouTube, try to find some of his fights from before.
Yeah.
You're not gonna see it. You don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I see.
And not just necessarily Africa, but you go to some of these third world countries.
You just can't look up tape on them.
Yeah, you can't look up tape on some of these guys, even from Argentina or Peru, Colombia.
Sure.
Some of these kids
sure.
that have been fighting, 15, 16-0. You don't have a clue what they're about. Or what type of level are they? An A class fighter, a B class, a D minus? You just don't know, because you don't know what they're about. I mean, it happened to Josh Franco, a Golden Boy fighter. He fought down in Puerto Rico, and they put him up against a kid from Argentina that was undefeated. And he got stopped, man.
Yeah.
And this kid's a U.S. Olympian. I mean, he was on the Olympic trial team and whatnot, and he got stopped.
It's not supposed to be easy,
And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's supposed to be easy,
Yeah.
but when you can't prepare, you don't know what to look for. Yeah, you can go in there with the game plan, but that may all switch up real quick.
That's a good question. How do you prepare? Like, at this point, the fighters that you guys are fighting, there's, generally speaking, there's tape on these guys. You can go back and you can watch video. But I imagine that earlier in your career, as you're fighting with Thompson, maybe not necessarily the case where, 10 years, you've been a professional for 8 years.
Yes.
At the beginning of that time, maybe there's not tape on some of the opponents. So how do you prepare for that?
Actually, I always found a way of finding it.
Do you really?
Yeah, I always found a video of anybody, and that's all it took. Especially that kid from Colombia, Ole.
Marlon Ole.
Marlon Ole, yeah, exactly, with them. Danny's fighting that day. Marlon Ole is fighting that on the same show. His opponent falls out. Danny's opponents fall out.
So
So
you
they
guys
say,
are-
you guys want to fight? I say, sure, we'll take the fight. There's no videos of him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But the entire time that they were talking and trying to convince us to get the fight, I was searching for information, and I found this small little video of him. And I said, Danny, we're taking this fight.
Yeah.
It was an undefeated fighter with 12 or 13-0 at the time. And I told him this is more than enough to know how he fights. And we took the fight and we dominated the kid.
Yeah, something I actually wanted to follow up. You guys mentioned earlier, everybody used to fight everybody is kind of the thing. This whole idea of the mentality of I'll just take whoever's there and in front of me. I think today there's probably more obstacles to fighting anybody than there ever has been in the history of boxing, with networks, with promoters, with so many different boundaries that you can and can't cross as a result of it. Like you look at, I saw this week Terrence Crawford just extended his deal with ESPN for like essentially the rest of his career. So he extended it out through 7 years. But I mean, the other names who are the highest or biggest names in that division, they're all promoted by Al Heyman. Al Heyman has the PBC contract with FS1 and with Showtime, right? So if you want to fight Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, you know, any of those guys, then you're going to have some trouble, right?
You know, you are, and yes, to an extent, you are right. You know, as far as now with the promotional companies and with the networks, but it can't happen.
Sure.
In 1989, Chiquita Gonzalez fought Michael Carbajal at the Hilton in Las Vegas. 2 different networks showed that. Showtime and HBO, they had Michael Buffer in the ring with Jimmy Lennon Jr. in the ring at the same time, and it was co-promoted, and that was the first time that people at super flyweight made $1 million on a fight.
Yeah, sure they did, but they also did that for, you know, Tyson and Lewis. They also did it for Mayweather and Pacquiao.
And that's what I'm saying. It can't be made.
Those were pay-per-view fights. So those fights were on pay-per-view. If you're Bud Crawford and you're not a pay-per-view attraction right now, what fight are you going to make that's going to compel a network to say, "Hey, we'll put this on pay-per-view and we're going to, you know, like I just don't see it. I don't see how he can fight sort of the top names in that division.
Perhaps Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, like Manny Pacquiao, he could fight. Conceivably, Mikey Garcia, because Mikey Garcia is an independent.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just think there are a lot of boundaries now today, even more than there were, you know, many years ago.
That's
with
where,
just
you know, and again though, but that's where sanctioning bodies step in. People like the WBC, the WBA, and they say, check this out. You want to hold your title? You either drop it or you fight, and if you guys can't come to an agreement, then we're going to go ahead and take this to a purse bid. Give them 30 days to purse bid it out and make the fight happen.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess the
I
sanctioning.
mean, that's
how
but
it's
like I
supposed
said,
to
but
work.
again, that's a championship fight. That is
a championship fight.
That's
yeah.
not a 12-0 and a 15-0. That's not a Golden Boy fighter and a Thompson fighter, a Golden Boy in the top rank, where they got 2 good, highly prospects that want to face each other. Of course, we're probably not going to see that happen like you would.
Yeah.
You know, in the 70s and 80s, championship fights. Yeah, there's ways for them to get made, but like you said, because of the promotional boundaries now, it is harder to see some of these younger prospects go up against other prospects.
In some respects, as a fighter, like if you're in Danny's position, for instance, I would think that's got to be frustrating, because there are guys like if you're Terrence Crawford, you know, you don't want to think. People will just say, oh, well, you know, they don't want to make this fight happen. But there's all kinds of things that are not really in the fighter's control. Like, he may want to fight Errol Spence for all we know, but it's just certainly not going to happen, right? Like, you know, so, like, there may be other champions where, as a fighter, you're like, I want to show that I can beat this guy. I can do it, right? But there's a bunch of things that get in the way that aren't entirely in your control, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, it is.
I say as you guys sign with DAZN. I don't mean anything negative about that, by the way.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
I don't mean anything negative about that. But sometimes I do think that it could be challenging, you know, to make the best fights today with all those boundaries, and I don't know that it's good for fighters and their competitive spirit necessarily.
Well, I'll tell you what. Before we even agree to sign with the Zone match from boxing, we made it very clear that we want to unify. That is our goal, and there's an agreement with them on that. It's, you know, it's not an agreement, but it is a verbal agreement, that we want to go after the other champions as well. Danny's here to fight the best.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no doubt about that.
Exactly.
Okay, there's no running here from anybody. Danny wants the rest of the champions, but one thing at a time. Right now we have Gavin McDonnell, and then we can talk to Dog Bay, Ray Vargas.
Any of those guys, right?
And any of them, of course.
Yeah.
Danny's here for them.
Yeah, of course.
You know, one thing about signing with Hearn is his hand basically reaches out and touches every promotional company. There's really no promotional company that Eddie Hearn hasn't worked with. I've seen Eddie Hearn fighters on Golden Boy cards. I've seen them on Top Rank cards. I've seen them with Al Heyman on PBC cards. So, I mean, that's another good thing for Danny and his team, is that basically with Hearn, that opportunity will be there, because there's really no bad blood per se between her and some of these American promotional companies.
Before they had a contract with DAZN, because now you have to say, where do they fight? Right? So, like, before, it was just Matchroom Boxing having to work with another promoter to promote an event. Now, if Matchroom Boxing wants to make a deal with an Al Haymon fighter, they have this barrier of saying, am I going to fight on DAZN, or am I going to fight on Showtime, or am I going to fight on FS1?
You know, DAZN needs fighters. I'm sure that Eddie Hearn will put the money out there. I'm sure that, you know, that money will get out there to make the fights happen. There's a lot of money invested into DAZN right now to make this network happen, and it's gonna happen. I mean, in say the first 2 years, the big fights will happen. That money will reach out there, and those fights will happen on DAZN.
There's $1 billion put aside on an 8-year term.
Yeah.
On this project, so the money's there.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah. So the fighters will come. It seems like, starting with Danny. Yeah. You know, you mentioned something. You said it was the first. What was it? Bantamweight fight to make over $1 million, right? So there was some talk yesterday at Superfly of the little guys not getting their just due. That was one of the topics that sort of came up on HBO. The smaller guys not getting paid in the same way as the Canelos and the Triple Gs of the world, or the heavyweights of the world. I just wanted to ask, do you guys feel like that's the case? Do you feel like there's a discrepancy between weight classes amongst men or women, for that matter?
Yeah, but like it's business, you know. The more people you attract, that's how you'll get paid.
Look, Dubé made a very true statement to Darius' fight. He says, let's put this division on fire. He's right about that.
Yeah.
And how do we do that? We get the best with the best. The next fight, you know, like I said, after Gavin McDonnell, if everything goes well for us, we'll make that fight.
Yeah.
And let's, like I said, let's make this division on fire. Let's get it going.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
You have to understand, too, boxing is a sport of casual fans, okay? The lighter weights have never been promoted. They've never been put out there the way heavyweights, you know, actually it's like from middleweight up. You know, welterweight got hot for a minute there because of Floyd Mayweather, but it's never been put out there because people want to see the knockouts. They want to see the heavy hits. They want to see the knockouts. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen in the lighter weight divisions. It just doesn't get promoted. It just doesn't get branded enough out there. And with this last Superfly, you had the absence of Chocolatito, Sorong Vasai, Carlos Cuadras, and Inui. That's 4 big names that are known to the mainstream boxing fans, right? I'm not saying the fights last night were good. Those were very great fights. It was a good card for boxing enthusiasts that knew the sport and wanted to watch some good fights. But when you start lacking names like that, especially 4 big names, it's hard for these guys to get paid. Man, the form was empty. It's sad, but it was empty.
Yeah, and I think that's a really practical answer that Danny gave too. That has something to do with it, right? The people who bring the fans make the most money, right? Like, the more people you can bring, the more money that you'll make.
It's a business. You know, these guys can't expect to get paid the millions of dollars unless they're bringing in these fans. They're getting their name out there and they're bringing in the fans. You know, I mean, and it's a cutthroat business. Boxing it's cutthroat.
But how do you bring the fans in? You make the right fights.
Yeah,
there
exactly.
You go.
You make the right fights. Yeah. And it's up to Danny, it's up to Dubé, it's up to Vargas and the new champion for the IBF to make this fight happen. You know, I mean, it happened with Morales and Barrera. You know? I mean, they were 122 pounders, 126 pounders that put that division out on the map when they were there, and they got paid well.
Exactly. I mean, from Tapia fighting the other kid, Danny Romero, you know, there in New Mexico. Mm-hmm. To Michael Carbajal, like you said, Barrera, Morales, Prince Nassim Hamed. You know, a lot of these guys, they ended up having to sell themselves, but they took on the best. They fought the best. I mean, you had trilogies down there, you know, between Barrera and Morales. Yeah. You know, so they've got to step up and fight the best as well. I mean,
so you were at the Forum last night.
Was at the Forum last night.
How'd it go? What do you think?
Had some good fights. The women's fight was very, very entertaining between Lulu Hatton and Brenda Flores.
Did you think Brenda won?
I think she might have squeaked it out. Look.
So did the judges think she might have squeaked it out.
You know what? I know for a fact that there was some controversy there.
I'll say.
Yeah, there was some headbutts there going in. Watching a replay of the fight, there was some headbutts. There was some blood, but you know what, that tends to happen sometimes. Judge see the blood, whether it's caused by a punch or not, and sometimes they tend to score as if you don't have a cut man that can stop that blood. Sometimes it catches that eye, that red catches that eye, and they tend to score the rounds the other way. And prime example is when Chocolatito fought Sorong Vasai in the first fight. I honestly thought Chocolatito beat him, but
a lot of people did. Yeah.
After that headbutt opened up and they couldn't stop that bleeding, and he had that crimson mask on that whole fight. To me, it persuaded those judges, in New York to go the other way. I mean, Brenda's a tough character. This is Lulu's second tough fight in a world championship fight. So I mean, it's sad, but when it's a vacant title, you have to go out there and you have to win that belt. You have to take it, and I'm not saying that Brenda did, and I'm not saying that Lulu did. It was a hard fight to judge. I think the blood might have played a part in it, but congratulations to both of those females for going out there and giving the fans a hell of a fight, because that fight had the fans on their feet, man.
Yeah.
So
I was telling these guys before that they compared Houghton to Rooster.
Oh
yeah, they said she's like the female Rooster.
Female Nico
Yeah, they
Macias.
said the female Nico.
Yeah, Nico's a good guy, man.
Not quite that much pressure.
Yeah, and then you had a fight between two Filipinos, between Donnie Nietes, and he was going up against Placete.
And what do you think about that decision?
Oh, I think that was a bad decision, man.
Yeah, they had a tough time on HBO last night. I don't
see how. I think one of the judges had it 118 to 110 for Nietes.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way Nietes won 10 out of those 12 rounds.
Did you think Nietes won the fight?
No.
You didn't think so?
No.
Really?
I don't think Nietes won, man.
Wow.
Did you?
Did
you watch it? You thought Nietes won?
Yeah.
No, I didn't, man. I think he might have been throwing more, but I think Placete was hitting him with the bigger shots. He might not have been landing as many, but I think he was landing the harder, more effective shots. But that's the way I judge fights. That's not, and it's not always that way.
Oh, man. Here we go. We're gonna get started on this judging.
No,
don't get me started with the way that I judge fights thing.
Look, man. I mean,
oh my goodness.
Like I said, okay, you pitter patter me. You hit me 20 times in a round, right? Per se.
Okay.
But I hit you 6 times. I hit you with the 3-punch combo and you buckle. You hold me, and you pitter patter me a couple times, and then at the end of the round I crack you again, buckle you again, you get saved by the bell. Even though I only landed 6 and you landed 20 pitter patter shots, I believe I won that round, or I believe that fighter may have won that round.
I agree.
It's effective aggressiveness, and it just depends on the fighter.
No, I agree. I agree with that. That's a fair assessment.
There's some times where that may work, where the aggressiveness may work. Look at Nico, for instance. Yeah, the kid was landing some hard shots on Nico, but Nico was throwing 200 punches around. It's hard for him not to lose that round. He may not have landed 200 punches, but I mean, just going out there and throwing. I mean, it's just every fight's different.
I think Nico landed threw over 1,000 punches in the as far as the
man.
fight lasted.
6 rounds.
Yeah,
1,119.
I read I was reading the CompuBox tweets on the show after that. Did you read that? CompuBox was tweeting during Nico's fight, and it's if you haven't read it, it's like the funniest thing. They're literally going round by round. They're like, Nico Macias just threw 196 punches, which is a record for 154 pounds. Then the next round, they have another tweet. Nico Macias just threw 199 punches to break his own record. The next round, it was Nico Macias just threw 213 punches, which is third place all time per punches in a round. Like round by round. What the hell is going on here? What's happening?
Yeah,
punch
so
count.
that was it was a tough fight. That was just a tough fight to judge, man.
It ended up a split draw, right?
Yeah, split draw.
Nietes won.
Okay.
No, he didn't.
Okay. Then
just mess with you. You know what I am curious about though, the headliner. What did that look like from?
Jesus.
Did it look competitive to
that
you?
Was okay. Again, and Estrada looked great. Estrada looked really good when he was landing. He was faster than that kid. That kid was wide open, throwing wide shots. But it seems like he was hitting Estrada too much. It's like Estrada was taking too much punishment. Instead of just jumping in and tagging him and then bouncing back out and jumping back in and tagging him, he was trying to stay in there and make it a war, and then he'd get tagged. And there was a couple of times that, especially in the 9th, I thought he was actually going to drop Estrada. And and I'm sitting ringside, mind you. I'm right there. I'm ringside, and I'm watching, and I'm like, it shouldn't have been that hard for Estrada, to me.
Is there anyone that stands out in your mind, Danny, of like just a peculiar style? Do you ever remember a specific fighter where you're like, he was just awkward? He was just an awkward guy to fight. You don't fight that way.
Well, my last fight against Moises Flores.
Yeah.
Oh man, that guy kept on coming forward and forward.
No matter what you were doing, it didn't matter what you put on him.
No matter what, I hit him hard with everything I could, and he kept on coming forward. Tough guy, man. A lot of heart. Yeah.
And you were connecting though, right?
Yeah.
They're clean shots. They're just, yeah. This is one of those fights where sometimes as a fan you watch a fight and you're like, that's just peculiar. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Because Juan Francisco Estrada, you're looking at him and he looks like he doesn't care about anything that's going on in the fight. Like he doesn't have a care in the world. And not only that, his corner would tell him like, hey, we need this, go in there and win the round. And then he would go in and win a round easily. And then like there would be a lot of competitive rounds and we really need you to pick it up. And then he would go in and pick it up, and I'm not sure what he was trying to do. It was like he was trying to something like really strange.
Sometimes a fighter needs somebody that can bring him up to the occasion.
Yeah.
It could have been the case.
Yeah, you could say that. You hear people say things like he fights to the level of his competition. So when he's fighting Sorong Visai, he's really high level, and when he's fighting other people, maybe he's really low level.
Look, I have a fighter, Isaac Zarate. This kid has all the potential to do very, very well. But he's one of those fighters that you put him against a position that's equal or lesser to him, and he'll fight at that level. You put somebody very difficult to him, and he'll rise to that occasion. And, he beat Carlos Carlson, which was a very tough opposition. They thought that he was going to get knocked out. But, look, he beat the guy.
And that was one fight after Carlos Carlson had fought Yamanaka in Japan for the world title.
Correct.
Yeah. He had suffered that loss to Yamanaka. Comes back, fights Zarate at Thompson, and Zarate beat him.
Yeah.
So he's fighting again soon, though, right?
Yeah, he's fighting next Thursday at the Golden Boy Show versus Horacio Garcia.
Oh, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Real quick, back to the Superfly card. I'll tell you who stole the show, man. Was Ioka.
Yeah, that was a good fight.
The Japanese kid stole the show, man. He 17th month layoff.
Yeah, 17. He'd been retired, right?
Not just a layoff. Went into retirement.
He retired, yeah.
Yeah, came back into boxing, made his U.S. debut, and he looked really good, man, against Mick Williams Arroyo.
Mick Williams Arroyo, yeah.
Yeah, Mick Williams Arroyo, and it looked good. I mean, he won in a good fashion, man. He put on a boxing show against Arroyo. Arroyo's tough, man. He beat Cuadras in the last fight, so he's tough. He's been in there with some tough fighters, so I can see Ioka on that Superfly card again.
Yeah, HBO definitely had some struggles last night. They kept reversing graphics. If you didn't get to see it because you were watching it live, but they were putting up like the punch graphics of who landed what where, and they had them backwards, so it looked like one fighter was like dominating. And you're like, no, that's the other guy landed all those punches. They had like the scorecard switched around on one of them.
It was really weird in there too.
Harold Letterman could not pronounce anyone's name on that entire card. He was just kind of like, "What's the guy's name? I have 5 rounds to 1." What's his name again?
Yeah, they
like what?
Well, even in the arena, even in the forum, they didn't even have the thing down with the televisions all around and whatnot.
Oh, they didn't?
No, it was just like they just had up the lights and that was it, and a couple HBO banners.
Wow.
Do you feel like their budget is declining?
Just a little bit, man.
A little bit, like it's
not HBO's.
They seem like they're not investing so much in boxing anymore.
They got a big week, and they gotta try to cover this weekend, man.
Well, they didn't pick up the rematch with Kovalev. Kovalev exercised his rematch clause. They declined it.
Yeah, they said no. So maybe they'll push it back to 2019. I don't know.
Do they have a better fight to show?
Gail Falkenhalt, listen up. If you're listening in, Gail Falkenhalt, she's the PR for main events. Give us a call, man, or chime in and let us know what the hell's going on with this Kovalev fight. What's HBO telling you, or what you're hearing on your side, if you can talk about it.
Yeah.
So, or even you, Kathy Duva, let us know.
He's just name dropping. Don't worry.
Well, I have. I'd rather.
I just want you to know I know these people.
I'd rather hear it from them than hear it secondhand from somebody that doesn't know. Why not get main person from main events to let us know. I mean,
That's true. And then, of course, you said you checked out the Showtime fight.
I did.
What did you think about that?
I like the heavyweight fight.
Prince Charles Martin. That's a local guy. He used to
Yes.
fight here a lot on
Yes.
All-Star cards and stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know. Actually, I thought it was going to be a much slower fight pace, but wow, they surprised the hell out of me.
Yeah, I think they were throwing for heavyweights. I think that it was like 70 punches a round or
Yes.
something. They were doing a lot of. It's an action fight for heavyweights. It was
nice.
And then the main event, wow, man, Porter, wow. It's very difficult to fight a guy like that. I mean, he just comes in and throws, and
That's what Danny was saying.
your head is in front of you. I mean, I like watching him fighting, but I think Garcia had a little bit of trouble with that. I really do.
Who wouldn't? That's kind of, you know what I mean? Like the whole bull rush. It's almost like a. Do you guys ever play Punch Out? You remember that game?
Oh,
Bald
yeah.
Bull. You remember
The
Bald
Bald
Bull?
Bull.
Yeah. Shawn Porter reminds me of Bald Bull. He just kind of runs in there and gets after you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Porter, he's a tough opponent. He's been around. How many losses does he have? One? Is it just Thurman?
You know who he reminds me of
2.
in the style of fighting that he has? Salido.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
He reminds me of him.
Yeah. But I think it was good. It was a very competitive fight. It's also a really challenging fight to score. If you go back and you watch it, it's like one guy who Shawn Porter is just throwing barrages of punches at all times, which he does. He did try and box a little bit. He danced around, tried to box a little bit, more than usual, I would say. And then you have another guy who's landing sharper punches, but not quite that active. And at the end of the round, you have to go, who do I give that to? The guy who landed a couple sharp punches, or
Well, I
the
believe
guy who
that-
landed a bunch? Like I'm not sure.
I believe that the first 3 rounds, Garcia was doing actually a lot better because
I thought so too.
because Porter was boxing, and that's not him.
Yeah, it was really peculiar. So he came out on his toes, man. He came out dancing on his toes, doing some switch stances, a lot of feinting, and was kind of losing rounds early on. And then somewhere around round 4, he decided, okay, I'm just going to go with my traditional reckless abandon style. And it was enough to get him the decision in the end.
Do you think he won?
I thought it was a draw, personally. So watching the fight, I was scoring it. I gave the edge to Garcia early on because I did think he won the first 3 rounds or so. So I had the edge to him, and it was Porter kind of catching up throughout the fight. But by the end of it, I thought it was a draw, which I think you could make a case for. I don't think that's if you watch the fight, that's not a bad, like, it could have gone either way. I wouldn't be surprised if Danny Garcia was the champion. I'm not surprised that Shawn Porter's the champion. But it doesn't look like we're going to get your Mikey Garcia-Errol Spence fight, though.
No. Spence is going to end up fighting Porter. They'll unify.
Yeah.
They'll unify that title.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll unify that title.
Mikey's kind of out an opponent. He doesn't have anybody to fight.
They'll find him somebody. He'll find somebody.
That doesn't sound fun.
No. I
Like,
mean,
he'll find somebody random.
figure
right?
December.
We got some guys here Mikey could fight. and stuff.
Lomachenko will unify in December against Pedraza.
Yeah, so Lomachenko's out. Errol's out. With it, Pacquiao's probably going to fight Amir Khan now that he looked.
Maybe.
It would be a bigger fight. I think he'll get more money for it.
There's been talk of Pacquiao and Garcia. I don't know if that'll happen, but they've talked about that a little bit. I mean, at 35, there's really nobody for Garcia to fight right now except Lomachenko, which,
Yeah.
like I said, that fight's not going to happen.
Linares is fighting this month, right? Linares is fighting again.
Yeah, but he's
This
fighting
month?
at 140.
At 40. That's right, at 40. In Indio.
Yeah, Fantasy Springs.
Yeah.
So
Mikey's got a belt at 140.
I don't know. Maybe maybe Frankie Gomez will come out of hiding, fight him. Him and Linares, or not Linares, him and Garcia. Man, I don't know. Yeah, it's Garcia, like you said, he's out an opponent. He's
Yeah, I think he's out of luck.
he's too good of a world champion just to be fighting any name. The fans want to see him in there with a big name, so I don't know. You know,
Sounds like he wanted a big name too.
Yeah, I ran into Bomac, who is Terrence Crawford's trainer out in Fantasy Springs.
You name dropping again? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and I'm just letting you know. He confirmed that.
Ran into Bomac.
He confirmed. He did confirm, which did come out this week. So it's already confirmed through Top Rank that Crawford will be fighting against
Benavidez.
Jose
Yeah.
Benavidez.
Good fight.
That's going to be a good fight.
Good fight.
Don't be surprised if Benavidez upsets him.
I would be surprised if Benavidez upsets
Would you
him.
be?
Yeah, of course I would.
Yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't be if Jose can come up with an upset. That wouldn't surprise me.
Don't get me wrong. I think both the Benavidez boys are remarkable talents. They truly are. I have an impression of Terrence Crawford that he's one of the better pound-for-pound fighters in the world. He just doesn't have an opportunity to prove it, especially now, given this extended ESPN contract. So he's kind of going to be, after Benavidez, he's I'm not sure what he's going to do.
Yeah.
But I would be surprised if Benavidez won. I would be.
That's like I said, it's going to be a good fight. Then, so we got big fights coming up this week.
There's a fight this week?
Oh, I think there's a couple, man. Yeah.
Are there any fights going on? What do you think? Nothing? I haven't heard anything. No.
No.
Are you, Danny? Are you gonna watch the pay-per-view? No.
He's like, I'm
Come on, Danny.
saving my $89. No.
That's it.
Danny, what's wrong with you, man?
You're not even gonna watch the pay-per-view.
It's the only time I get off. So I'll be resting. I'll see. You never know. I'll see. I'll probably go over.
I'm not peer pressuring you. I was just curious. I was curious how far it extends. Everybody watches the pay-per-view. Okay, so let's say if Floyd Mayweather was going to fight Conor McGregor in a second fight, this time in the octagon, would you watch it?
You know
Still
what?
no?
I don't even see my own fights.
that's a
There
good
you
point.
go.
It's rare.
There
like,
you go.
Well, Danny, didn't you watch the first fight? We were in Japan at the time. Getting ready to fight.
I was a sleeping idiot.
Oh, that's right. You're always sleeping. I forgot. That's all he does.
The fight was on. The fight was on, but he was sleeping though.
No, we were watching on our telephone. Let me tell you, this guy gets to Japan, and all he does is sleep. It's
Okay.
like, Jesus Christ. Eat, train, and sleep.
You got to recover from all that training. Your body needs it.
I wanted to fight already, so
Yeah, your body needs it. Man, that is dedication. Doesn't even watch the pay-per-views. What if I pay for it? No, I'm just kidding. It's fine. I'll pay. We'll put it on. We don't even have to split it.
No, that's a true professional. He really, when he's in training camp,
Oh, I believe it.
that's all he does.
I believe it. I think at this point, today's athlete, like the modern athlete, to compete at the highest level has to be especially disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You look at guys like, the Floyd Mayweathers of the world, like the Vasily Lomachenkos of the world, even the Klitschkos going back a few years. They're guys who treat their body with respect. You know what I mean? They're not going in between fights and like putting on 25, 30 pounds of beer and pizza and like doing all that kind of stuff.
They should.
No, man. It's their craft. You can only do it. Like, look, it's something that you realistically have a very limited. The window of being a peak athlete is limited, right? Danny, you're sort of right in, I think, the spectrum of where that window is, where you can be a peak physical athlete, and then at a certain point it starts to deteriorate. You can't do it until you're 50. Have all the pizza and beer you want. Obviously you don't, but what I'm saying is, like,
Don't give me any ideas.
yeah, like, I'm just saying that, there's a limited period of time.
No,
Treat your
exactly.
body with respect.
No, exactly, man.
That's Danny, how much he's walking right now?
What's your walking weight right now?
I think 31 or 32.
Wow.
So
You guys don't
9 pounds.
hardly have to cut anything.
Nothing. Like I was telling you earlier,
Yeah.
he eats breakfast, lunch, and dinner the day before the weigh-in.
That blows my mind.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So
he
you guys
hydrates himself very well, too.
Yeah. So you guys, do you feel like you could get down to the lower classes as well? Have you ever thought about dropping down?
Yeah. I think with a good diet, I think we could go down to 118.
118? Yeah. It seems like if you're walking around at this weight, I feel like, yeah. And that's not just right now because you're in training camp. That's just what you normally walk around at?
Yeah. Oh,
130?
Randomly, yeah.
Yeah.
I weigh myself, I'll be around 31.
Wow.
30, 31, yeah.
Tremendous.
So has Diego's name popped up, man? Diego De La Hoya, has his name popped up for you guys? I know he's not a world champion, and he's not at that elite level yet, but he's a very high, he's a very, very highly touted prospect.
I mean, they named him, Well, like I said, I don't mind fighting the best. But like right now, I'm going against I'm aiming for the champions, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
The best in the division. So you never know. Maybe later on.
Have you guys ever sparred? You and Diego ever sparred?
No.
No?
We never sparred. No.
Look, Diego de la Hoya, they called us out. Right now, at this moment, it's not even in our minds.
Yeah.
To be very honest with you, he was a world title. Then we can do anything. Right now, Danny's got better goals. You know, we're going after the champions.
Of course.
And we want to, like W said, we want to make this division get on fire. We want this division to be recognized and have the champions get paid what they're worth. That would be looking back right now. Not that he's not a good talent, not that he's not a good fighter.
Yeah.
But we got better things in front of us right now.
And as a manager and being around that division, you heard anything about Rigondeaux? I mean, he's been kind of like missing since the Lomachenko fight.
He hurt his hand.
You know something? I always try to keep up with everybody in the division. I went to YouTube. There's some new videos where he's working out. He's saying he's getting ready to come back. I'm not really sure if that is a fact or not, but I saw the interviews. He personally was interviewed, and that's what he said. Even prior to Danny becoming a world champion, they had asked us if we would fight against Rigondeaux, and we say yes because he was the best, and Danny wants to fight the best. You know, I mean, he is the most talented fighter in the division. I do have to admit. You know, so you can't take that away from him. That loss against Lomachenko, he should not be crucified for that. Yeah, okay, so he quit. Okay, fine, but look, he went up in weight. Nobody wanted to fight him.
Yeah.
You got to give credit to the man. Okay,
Yeah.
Did he quit? Sure, he did. Okay, but overall, you can't take his talent away.
Yeah.
You cannot do that.
A lot of talented guys quit too. I mean, Nicholas Walters quit. A lot of those guys quit.
He called out Santa Cruz, Mares. He called everybody out. Nobody wanted to fight him. Is that his fault? No, it's not his fault. They say that he's a boring fighter. Okay, well, he's a very talented fighter, and he's gonna make you fight his fight. And if you're that good, if you're really that good, and you think that he's a boring fighter, well, take him on and kick his ass.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do.
Well, that's the sport of boxing is to hit and not get hit. You know, it's the sweet science.
Absolutely. You know, us
The
Hispanics,
sweet science.
you know, the Hispanic community, we want to see brawls all the time. Me as a fan, I want to see the same thing. But as a manager, as a coach, I want my best. I want my fighter to be the best and not get hit. You know, that's what I want. I don't want my fighter getting hit. I want him to last. Once he finishes his career, I want him to have a healthy life.
Yeah, I'm always I'm like very pro fighter health, and I understand though also the part of the community that wants to see the action fights because the entertainment is sort of what brings the money into the business, right? So there's a balance of it. It has to be entertaining, but at the same time, you want the fighters to be as healthy as they can be. Rigondeaux, I think the reputation that he has is a guy that's not entertaining. So it's like, you know, it's somewhere in the middle. He has tremendous amount of craft and skill, but everybody would rather watch Danny fight, for instance, right?
I would pay to see him fight.
Yeah, right. You don't have to. No, but yeah, I think there's some element of how entertaining can you be. You know, Floyd Mayweather, for instance, wasn't the most entertaining guy. I think a lot of the money that he makes comes from the fact that people wanted to see him lose, right? People are paying because they hope that he's going to lose,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And then he doesn't, and everybody says, "Oh, that's boring," and he's not, you know, and they get very extremely critical. So, having that excitement, you know, it's good that you guys have that. You know, it's a good thing. The craft is important for sure. Like, and Rigondeaux is a very skilled and talented fighter, but he can be boring sometimes. He can be boring. But with that being said, this is sort of the my Mayweather Pacquiao argument. Like, it's not anyone's job to stand and get hit. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't hit a guy, that's not his fault. That's you. Like, you should have come up with a better game plan to execute against that individual. Like, if you go in, you're like, you know, you can't hit a guy, and then you're like, oh, he was running and he was doing all this. It's like, in other words, you couldn't hit him, and you had a hard time with it.
So
I don't know.
when Abel Sanchez says that about Canelo, you agree there?
Do I agree that Canelo is running?
So no, I'm saying
I would run from Triple G. I don't blame him. No, I'm just kidding. If I was in the ring from Triple G,
you know,
I'd be running too.
I don't think Canelo was running. I think he was.
I don't think so either.
No. I mean, he knew what he was doing. He was really owning the territory in the ring. You know, that real estate has to be properly applied. Yeah. You know, you have to know your territory where you're at, and that's what he was doing. He was taking the distance away from from Triple G. I like Triple G. I'm going for Triple G in this upcoming fight as well. But you do have to understand the style that Canelo brought into the game. You know?
Yeah, I think the reason that I was critical of Canelo before is because, for instance, I thought he had a very competitive fight with Erislandy Lara, and a number of people think that Erislandy Lara won that fight. Canelo would not afford him a rematch. Okay, so Canelo wouldn't do the fight again, and he said when he learns to stand and fight, then we can do it again. He just ran the whole fight, okay? If you're going to say that and then go into a fight with Triple G and spend the whole time, going around the outside of the ring, to your detriment, by the way, which is the reason he lost that fight. Okay, so excuse me, I'll correct myself. The reason it was a draw, but the reason he lost that fight is because he spent so much time on the outside, putting himself on the ropes to begin with. Every time they had an exchange, he was winning, right? So I'm just critical of it for that reason. It's not that I feel like he's running. You can't say Floyd Mayweather ran against me, Erislandy Lara ran against me, and then go in against Triple G, backpedal all the way around the ring, and lose yourself a decision that way. I'm kind of think it's, but like I said, I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
What's he supposed to do? Stand there and get hit?
No, exactly. Exactly.
That's my point.
Thursday night at the Joint in Las Vegas. If you're out there for the Triple G Canelo weekend, everything kicks off Thursday night at the Joint in Las Vegas. You have the Golden Boy on ESPN fights. You have Marisela Cornejo going up against Franchon Cruz for the WBC super middleweight world title that has been vacated by Clarissa Shields.
On ESPN too, right?
Yeah, on ESPN. You also have one of Eddie's fighters, is Isaac Zarate, correct?
Correct.
Isaac Zarate, he's going to be fighting on that card as well. You also have, he's going to be fighting Horacio Garcia, one of Golden Boy's fighters, 34-4. So that's going to be a war right there. I've seen Zarate fight plenty of times at Thompson, so he's going to be going up on the Golden Boy card as an opponent against a tough fighter from I believe he's from Arizona, Horacio Garcia. So that's going to be a tough fight. And then in the main event, you have Pablo Cesar Cano going up against Ruslan Madaev, who is an undefeated fighter who trains up in Big Bear with Triple G and Abel Sanchez. So you got cards going off there. Then Friday night, a card that's not getting a lot of love, but is probably going to be the fight of the week, is going to be Antonio Orozco going up against Jose Ramirez in Fresno. And that fight right there, man, to me, that's a pick-em fight. If Orozco can come in on weight, he can give Ramirez a hell of a fight. I've talked to Ramirez's promoter, and I've basically told him, man, he needed to step up in competition. There was a time that where Ramirez wasn't fighting very good opposition. He became the world champion, beating Don King's guy, the one that was beat by the guy from Chicago. Adrian Granados beat him. I forgot his name, but he fought in New York City. He was the 2000 WBC World Championship fight. That's when Jose Ramirez.
Man, you know everything about this fight except the guy's name.
Except the opponent's name, Amir.
He's like you remember?
What's his name's Amir, I think.
Whose logo was on the canvas that night?
Man, I don't even.
No, I'm just
probably Tecate. Anyways, I mean, Ramirez got a title. Now he's going up against Orozco, who's an undefeated Golden Boy fighter. You got on the top ranked card. So, I think that fight's gonna steal the show, man.
Danny, what do you think about that fight?
It'll be a great fight. Orozco against Ramirez?
Yeah.
It's a great. I think it's an even fight. So
you think
it
so,
should
man?
be good.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good fight. Like I said, Orozco recently has left training here at Legends. He was back and forth. Now he's back at the House of Boxing in San Diego. So
he's back. He's out from Legends.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
you guys do some sparring at Legends, right?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, we former guests, Ruben Torres and Michael Dutchover. You spar with them as well, right? Because they're Thompson Boxing.
Yes, they're being they're helping me, but they're getting ready for a fight on September 21st.
21st, yep, on the 21st.
Yep.
In Ontario. That's right. So you guys are all helping each other out.
Yeah.
How's that sparring been with Ruben and with Dutchover?
Tough guys.
Huh.
Tough guys, but it's actually helping me. Ruben's helping me with the height and the reach.
And the weight.
And the weight too.
Yeah, big guy.
They're kind of heavy, but they work with me. They give great work. Both of them competitive too. So
You guys are mentioning you get a lot of tall opponents, so I imagine Ruben is like a good sparring partner.
It's a blessing.
Dude's up there. He's like 6'1", dude.
Yeah, Ruben's pretty tall.
Yeah, he's pretty tall, especially for that weight class. He's like my weight.
Well, listen to this. He's 5'11", 6 feet tall, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
So he's giving us the reach and the height. Another thing, most of the guys that Danny's fighting, because they're so tall, they come in at 140.
Okay.
You know? Like Danny stays at 128, 129 the day of the fight. These guys are 140. Ruben is I believe it's a super 135 pound or 140
Yeah, he's 135, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah.
Dutch over, he's I believe 130 pounder.
Yeah.
So
bigger too.
they're giving him everything that we need: the height, reach, and weight.
And talented guys.
And
too.
talented
Yeah,
guys, very talented guys. Yeah. So it's good.
Yeah, that's cool. I saw the pictures on Instagram. And I was like, oh, check that out.
Yeah, there they go.
Yeah.
No, but it's
I saw something else on Instagram. Can I bring this up?
bring it up. What'd you see?
You shared a post with me earlier today. You were doing work with the Children's Hospital there, or something, some charity work, for instance.
Dennis doesn't like to talk about that. I'm the one who posted that.
Okay.
He has prohibited me from doing these things because he doesn't want that type of publicity. He wants publicity to be done through boxing. All the charity work. No, but that's okay.
Fair enough.
I brought it out already,
Yeah.
right? All the charity work that he does with the Junior Foundation. He visits a lot of these kids at the hospital, spends time with them, prays with them, and he's been doing this for a while, And then he, like I said, he asked me not to expose that information, but people need to know. They need to know that Danny's a very genuine individual that cares for the community, that cares for these kids, and it has to be known.
Yeah.
So sorry for that, Danny. I just had to.
Sorry, Danny. I didn't mean to put you on blast with that one.
No, you just threw me under the bus.
Yeah, my fault. That's my fault.
Last year,
I can edit it out. I'll take it out.
Last year, Danny won an award from LATV for Fighter of the Year. He for the different types of contributions he does to the community and whatnot. Eddie was there with them, and it was nice being there watching Danny get that award. I mean, he does a lot of stuff that people that don't know Danny and that aren't in the boxing community that they don't see. He does spend a lot of time with these kids that are sick, that a lot of them have terminal diseases, a lot of them are dying of cancer, and he takes his time, and that's hard to do. I mean, I wouldn't wish that on any child or on any family to have to go through that, with a loved one, and for Danny to be there for those kids. I personally, thank you, for being able to step up and do that, because there's a lot of people that don't take the time that could do that, and even if it just brightens the day of one child and puts a smile on one child's face, knowing that what they're going through, they're going to remember that all their life. They'll always remember when you stepped up. They may not remember how many times they've been injected or how many times they've gone through chemotherapy, but they're always going to remember that person that put their smile on that face. And God bless you for that, Danny.
Thank you.
They told me all Danny does is sleep, so I had to bring something up. You know what I mean? I had to mention something else.
That's when he's in Japan, man.
Oh,
Japan.
Oh, that was a Japan thing. I thought that was just an all the time thing.
No, I get some free time after the fight. I do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, because I'm in training camp, I hardly got time for myself.
Yeah.
And the time I got free, I use it to rest, because I gotta be up the next day, train.
So we really appreciate your coming out here, man. I know that you guys are right in the middle of training camp. You're preparing for a fight in Chicago, and I just want to take a second to say not only thank you for all the work that you're doing, like Anthony said, but also thank you both for taking a moment to come down here and talk to us. We really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure.
Oh, yeah. Should we do the you want to do Canelo predictions? Come on. What's your final prediction? How's it turn out?
Triple G knockout.
That's
late
that's
round.
a prediction that's made with your heart.
Say no, 10th or the 11th round. We were at the workout 2 Sundays ago. It was maybe last Sunday. I don't remember.
Yep.
And those pictures that are floating around the internet of Canelo being so skinny, right? That's a lot of those pictures Cynthia took, and they're not edited, man. He looks a lot.
Those are all photoshopped, right? You brought his waist in.
He looks a lot smaller, you know. And whether or not people believe, you know, he was on any type of steroid, or if he was on the clenbuterol to help him breathe or whatnot, I mean, he just doesn't have the mass. He just doesn't have the same size as he did the same time last year.
What makes you think that's not a conscious decision on his part so that he can be more agile or faster?
I'm not saying.
Oh, okay.
It's not. It could be it, but I mean,
maybe they decided to do that.
Another thing, you know, is like when people are on the juice, man. People are on certain types of substances, and then they get off. They tend to fall apart, and it's funny that, you know, a few months after he gets popped, that he's having knee surgery. Then he said, it's just just cleaning up my knee or whatnot, but it's just I don't know. And I honestly could see it as a business point of view where Triple G does win, man, and they have a trilogy. I can see Canelo having an automatic rematch clause if he loses, but not giving Triple G one if he wins. I mean, so, you know, G can pull it off and they can fight again in May or next year in September. I mean,
so generally speaking, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. And I don't, and I understand there's bad decisions. They happen all the time. And I think it has to do with the subjectiveness of scoring rounds and doing things like that. Different people have different opinions. Most of the time, I think they're just bad decisions. People made the wrong call, right? Judges went and did. But there are a lot of conspiracy theories that float around boxing for some reason. Almost, I feel like more than any other sport, about, you know, who's doing what behind the scenes, promotional entities doing this, people affecting the outcomes through judging one way or another so they can increase the payday in the future, doing things like that. Is that all like mumbo jumbo, or is that like real stuff? Do you guys feel that?
It happens.
I'm sure it happens. I'm sure, but certainly not as frequently as people say, right?
Well, everybody thinks it's a mafia. It's a mafia. There's no mafia
exactly.
in boxing.
Yeah.
It's, like Anthony just said, it's business.
Yeah, it's business.
It's business.
Yeah, I agree. But I don't know. First of all, he never tested positive for an anabolic steroid or any kind of steroid. Clenbuterol is a fat-burning substance, not anything else. But
I saw the pictures that he's talking about.
Yeah,
I really did.
I definitely saw the pictures.
And, you know, side by side, you look and, like you said, that muscle mass is not there anymore.
That's true.
What happened?
That's true. There is a lack of muscle mass.
Guy Estrada calling him out in the LA Times. They asked him. He says, "Look, man, all I eat in Sonora when I'm training is Mexican meat.
That's all.
Well, how come you don't test positive? Well, because I eat the meat. I don't inject it.
I eat it. I don't inject it.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? That his trainer was a butcher.
Oh, okay.
No, for reals.
Yeah.
You know, they're butchers by trade, and they ought to know better than that, right? If that's the case.
Exactly.
Again, I'm not insinuating anything, but you ought to know those things.
Oh yeah.
One of the richest athletes in the world, and you're going to be eating off some farm.
I'll be Kobe steak.
Right? I'd be flying in from Japan, man.
Hey, look,
the Benihana chef cooking it for me.
I make no excuses. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I have said on many occasions that if any fighter ever had the resources to make sure that they were putting the appropriate things in their body, Canelo does. He's at sort of the apex of the sport. He makes the most money. He's the biggest draw. He has the most notoriety. With the resources that he has, he should be able to produce a clean test, assuming that he's doing everything that he should be doing, and the responsibility is on him, whether or not it was from tainted meat or not from tainted meat. Even if it was just tainted meat, it's still, I still think it's his responsibility. It's not like it's an okay thing.
Look, I beg the difference in that. I think it's responsibility of the whole team.
Yeah, the whole team.
Anytime that Danny takes something, I supervise that.
Yeah, the whole team.
I have to know what he's taking. I really do.
Yeah, I believe it.
You know Kenny, right?
Yeah.
My best friend. He made the mistake of bringing him a substance one day. And they took it. And I told them, why is it that you're taking something without my authorization, without me supervising this first? Kenny is not going to look into things that I am going to look into.
Sure.
I said, I do not want to go into a drug test and find out that you took something without me knowing and you come out positive. So I check everything that Danny consumes.
Yeah.
without a doubt.
There you go. I mean, you
Without
have,
a
you have
doubt.
to.
Yeah. And so I totally agree, and I think whether it was accidental or not, it does not relieve him of any responsibility that he has for doing it. For sure. But the side-by-side picture comparison, there could be a lot of reasons for that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, he could be slimming down to try to
He
gain
could be
more
slimming
speed.
down. He's not going to win by knockout.
Who, Canelo or Triple G?
Canelo.
Oh, of course not. He's
not
not
gonna win
gonna.
by
He's not gonna knock out.
No way.
Not gonna knock out G. Who do you got, Danny?
You can use the default.
I think it might be the same results from last fight.
Another draw?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Danny's going
No,
with another
I
draw.
think Triple G is going to win this fight as well.
Who do you got?
Honestly, I think Canelo will win. But I'm not saying that as a fan of Canelo. I'm a Triple G supporter. I hope that he does well. I think that the errors that they have to clean up, they both had problems. Okay, they both had problems in the first fight, and I think that the adjustments that Triple G's camp needs to make are a little bit easier than the adjustments that Canelo's camp needs to make. So I can see why people think Triple G will win, because essentially he can do the same thing he did last time, but he has to put more focus on the body, and he has to start earlier because he waited 3 rounds. Okay, he gave away 3 rounds in the bank, gave them away. So you could say that his adjustment is turn it on sooner, which you do against every opponent that's not Canelo, and hit him in the body sometimes, right? Canelo's adjustments are a little bit harder because you look at it and you say, hey, stay off the ropes, participate in more direct exchanges. You're a superior boxer. You have an advantage when you're doing that, which he clearly does. The problem is that essentially what you're saying is stand there with Triple G and go at it, punch each other, right? It's a harder adjustment. You can say that, and then you go in there and you're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, but he hits real hard. I need to get out of the way. I need to do all these different things. So I think it's a more difficult adjustment for him to make, but that's one of the reasons why I think speed and agility and things like that are a focus over muscle mass. He was massive last time, yeah, but when you see the types of punches he laid on Triple G that didn't get him out of there, what good is it going to do? It's got to be strong enough to discourage him, but also if it's slowing him down in any way, then it's okay to be
Talk about
smaller.
agility. I mean, it seems like every video that I've seen of Triple G's camp, he's got that spider tape on his knee. How do you think that's gonna affect his lateral movement?
No, I don't know. He's got the spider tape on his knee. Canelo's got the knee brace. Like,
that's what I'm talking about, Canelo.
Oh, okay.
Canelo's had that knee surgery. He's got that spider tape. He's got that knee
think it's
brace.
fine. I mean, it's one of those things where people say that Canelo looks like he's not as in shape for this fight than he was, and this came up last week, and I attribute that to a number of things. One is a lot of times the photo comparisons that take place are actually being compared at different points in training camp. So if you're showing a photo of him starting training camp compared to when he finished training camp last time, he's not going to look the same. They have to be at the same point. Like they have to be on weigh-in day. You know what I mean? Like, show me what he looks like the day of the weigh-in, not one time when he started camp and one time when he finished, right? So they have to be the same thing. I also think that people assume the worst because of the clenbuterol substance thing, right? So people look at it and go, oh, yeah, he was jacked before because he was on PEDs because they're,
No, exactly.
Yeah, right? So there's that, and then also the knee brace. People look at the knee brace and they go, oh, he doesn't look like he's in good shape. Well, he wasn't wearing a brace on one knee before. So
Yeah.
it definitely makes it, you look at the picture and you're like, oh, yeah, he looks older, Triple G's 36 though, man. Like the dude's, 37. I don't know. He's
I still think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a good fight. I think it's gonna be
Yeah.
a good fight.
I think it'll be a lot of the same. Only, for some reason, I favor Canelo just because Canelo, I think, has a wider basket of tricks. He has more skills to pull from. Generally speaking, in a rematch like that where neither guy got knocked out and it was a close fight, Canelo came on towards the end. He won like the last few rounds of that first fight. And I think the guy with more tricks up his sleeve has a tendency to be able to pull away in a rematch. He has the ability to say, okay, I'm going to pull from my basket, use more of these things instead. Triple G is sort of a more one-dimensional. I wouldn't call him one-dimensional, but more one-dimensional.
We'll see what happens. It's gonna be
Yeah.
good. It'll be a good fight.
That was a really long answer to who I think would win, by the way. My
Yeah,
apologies.
Be a good fight, man.
You're like, who do you think will win? Let me tell you for 10 minutes who I think is going to win.
Sure.
Let's just hope they give us a great fight, and that way the fans can enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, and
I think they will.
And
Yeah, I
even
think they
even
will.
if Adelaide Bird, man, if Adelaide Bird would have scored the damn fight, 115, 113, and for Canelo, I think that we wouldn't have had the issues, because
100%.
a draw, I could easily see a draw. I could easily see Canelo winning the first 3 rounds, and then the last 3 rounds, easy. I mean,
Yeah.
it could have. I don't have, my argument wasn't with the draw. It
was with the 118 card.
118, 110.
Yeah,
10
the
rounds
card.
to 2 for Canelo. No way in hell, man. I mean, that's what gives the sport a black eye.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Card. Calling out Adelaide Bird.
call.
Well, before I sign off, I do want to make sure to give you guys an opportunity to plug anything that you want to plug, whether it's a Facebook and Instagram, any fights that are coming up. Just remind people what you got coming down. So, Danny, do you want to start? Is there anything that we should follow, or any matches, events that we should be aware of?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram _babyfaceassassin_. Then you can check me out on Facebook as Daniel Roman, and I will keep everybody updated for my fight against October 6th in
Cool.
Chicago.
How'd you get the name? Just out of curiosity. Who gave it to you? Did you give him the name?
I gave him the name.
You gave him the name?
Kenny, my
it's a
best
good
friend,
name.
claims that he did, but no, I
But it was
didn't.
really you?
Yes. Well, look at him. He's got a baby face,
It's
right?
a good name. It's
And
a good name.
And he's an assassin. Let me tell a little story about Danny's original nickname in the amateurs was Chapito, meaning short.
Okay.
And Chapito was a hell of a fighter. That kid didn't like to run, but he knew that he could climb in the ring and beat anybody. Then he actually started running in the pros. He never ran as an amateur. And he says, Eddie, I don't want to be named Chapito anymore. Can you give me a more professional name than that? And, we were at the beach, and I said, well, you got a baby face, right? And you're an assassin, baby face assassin in honor of Marco Antonio Barrera, and so that's where the name came from, in honor of him.
So what's Kenny's version of that story?
You need to meet Kenny.
I'll have to meet
You need to
Kenny.
meet Kenny.
I'll ask
He's
Kenny.
a character, man.
When Kenny comes, I'll ask him who came up with the name, so that we could.
Oh my God, yeah, he'll tell you it was him.
How about you, Eddie? Is there anything that we should be aware of? Anything you want to follow, plug, anything like that?
No. Danny's the one that has the social accounts, social media accounts. I have them too, but he's the one that needs to be followed, not me.
Yeah. Cool. Stacks?
Just be sure to follow Danny on social media. Follow him on his IG. Follow him on Facebook. This kid's an up-and-comer. We've got a lot of people from across the country that don't know who Danny Roman is. I mean, this kid's a great fighter. He's a world champion. He's going to be fighting the best. He's got one of the biggest fights of his life coming up against Gavin McDonnell in Chicago, October 6th, on the new DAZN network that you guys can download. A little plug there for DAZN, but if you want to watch some good boxing, it's going to kick off September. Joshua and Povetkin, then the next fight after that. I know you got Jesse Vargas going up against Delhomme, and then you have Better Beef on that card as well, and you got Danny Roman on that card. So it's got some good fights coming up. Good kid. Does a lot for the community out here in Southern California. So make sure to give him a follow, and make sure to tune into his fight October 6th when he defends his title.
Sounds good. And that's it, of course, for me. Follow Beat the Count on Facebook, Instagram, Podbean, Google Play Music,
And Spotify,
iTunes, Spotify.
There you go.
I've got like 15 different things that you can follow. I got all the, just follow one of them. Just follow any one. It does YouTube, all that stuff. What's that?
Oh, Boxing Expo. The
Is
Boxing Expo. That's
is
Saturday.
that going on this weekend?
That's right.
I'm
All right,
just messing
before we
around.
go, if you guys are still watching, man, still tuning in, listen up. Saturday morning, starting at 10 a.m. this Saturday at the Las Vegas Convention Center. Beat the Count will be there live. We'll have several boxers there. We're going to be doing a bunch of giveaways. One of the giveaways that we're going to be doing is giving an autographed Danny Roman glove away. We got a competition that we're getting ready to post. Chris is going to be posting that on the Beat the Count IG. Make sure to come by, get some free giveaways, take some pictures, have a chance to get on our podcast. We're going to have several fighters there. They're going to be taking pictures, signing autographs. It is with Supreme Boxing. So Supreme Boxing Beat the Count booth there at the Las Vegas Convention Center at the Boxing Expo. There's going to be a lot of fighters there. So make sure you guys come on out and check us out, man.
So I hadn't mentioned the glove thing yet, so way to spoil that. No, I'm just
Okay.
kidding. There's a glove sitting there, and I was gonna get to that, but no, I'm just kidding.
Then I'll buy a glove from you, man, and we'll do
I've
two
got it
giveaways.
there.
Then.
I didn't ask him to sign it
Cry,
yet.
baby.
You just dropped that on him right now.
Aren't you charging for the autograph, Danny?
Yeah, exactly.
Because lately,
You
know,
could.
I was gonna
you could
try.
charge
And,
him.
I was gonna
Today's
try and
special 2 for 1.
yeah. I offered to buy the pay-per-view. I thought that would get me in there, but I didn't know even. Anyways, all right, guys, that's it for this week on Beat the Count. Thank you guys very much for coming out. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.